going on with Manchester United and a few other bits as well. Am I actually live here? I don't know that I am. I'm not. We've got waiting for Manchester United. Are we live? I'm confused here. It says I'm live, but I'm not getting any visual at all. Anyone in the chat want to let me know? This not happened before. Okay, we went live later. Did you get any of the start there? Did you get the introduction? Did anyone get the introduction? I've been live for about 40 seconds. No, you didn't. Great. No, you didn't get the introduction. Brilliant. All right. Thanks, YouTube. Fucking brilliant, yet again. Okay, let me start from the start. So, hello and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge. This is the evening show, and today we're going to be talking about... No, don't do it, Eric. In relation to Raphael Varane, we'll be talking about that and why I think Erik Ten Hag is making a big mistake that cost Solskjaer his job. We'll be talking about that as Varane moves closer to the exit door. We'll also be talking about this news around Sir Jim Radcliffe and why he may not get control of Manchester United till the new year. You might have seen it this afternoon coming out, some story around that. We'll talk about that as well and what that actually means. Also, Bernardo Silva's been talking about Neves of Benfica joining Man City, not Manchester United. And while that's more likely, Bruno Fernandes has been criticised as disrespectful as captain of Manchester United yet again. And we'll be talking about Luke Shaw and his return. Do you put him at left back? Do you put him at left centre back? So get your comments in. Lots and actually to get involved in tonight. So lots to get involved in. Some people said they did get the intro. I don't know whether you did or you didn't. So I just want to make sure that you did. Yeah, lots to get into on the show. Right, I want to start off very, very quickly. I want to talk about this Varane story and why Ten Hag's making a massive mistake if he lets him go. But I want to just start off with this latest news that's come out this afternoon. And it's come out from, I think, Disco Mirror, David McDonnell, Mirror journalist, who I've said in the past, they've been very close to Ten Hag, very close to Manchester United and had good information. They basically came out this afternoon, and I will read you the quote because I don't want to be misquoted on this. That's the worst thing that could happen, is that basically saying that Sir Jim Radcliffe and Manchester United... that's not what I want to read. Where is it here? Where is it? Fucking hell. It's all going off wrong here tonight. Basically, it said that Sir Jim Radcliffe might not be... now, look, basically, Ineos 25% investment in Manchester United now looks like it will be pushed back until the new year. So, look, that has sent certain sections of the fan base into meltdown. I genuinely don't think this is what's going to happen. I genuinely think this is probably lost in translation. Someone called Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson, very good film, because I think this has been lost in translation. I think what is happening is that Sir Jim Radcliffe will be announced as Manchester United's 25% stakeholder in the next week or so, but the actual official taking over will not be till the new year, because there is that period of time which Ben Jacobs has mentioned and a few other people have mentioned, whereby it's probably going to take 6 to 8 weeks for the Premier League and everybody else to ratify it. So he can't do anything officially until that is done. So I think we'll get this statement from Manchester United and the Glazers and Sir Jim that they are working together, and I think that could happen tomorrow or more likely next week. But the official taking over will not be till the new year. And I think this has sent people into meltdown because they're like, oh my God, it's not going to happen till the new year. But it was never going to happen till the new year officially. I mean, look, so Richard Arnold's been sacked. That probably wouldn't have happened if the Glazers had stayed in charge. That doesn't mean that we can't get Paul Mitchell in before then. But look, there isn't a lot of time. It's very reminiscent of what happened last May when there was some people in our fan base that still thought Qatar could buy the club and buy players in the summer. And I remember saying, it's gone. It's screwed. This summer transfer window's gone. If we haven't got a new owner in by May, they won't have time to do anything. Like, there's no director of football they'd want. They wouldn't want this CEO. Most clubs have already got their signings lined up. And, I mean, we didn't even get a new owner anyway. And I think we're approaching that situation as well, whereby Sir Jim's going to find it very difficult to get involved in the January transfer market if we were going to do anything anyway. But look, don't panic. I'm absolutely convinced that in the next few days, we will get an announcement that Sir Jim Radcliffe is going to take 25% of Manchester United. but he won't officially be in his role until early next year. And I think that's the story that's probably been taken out of context a little bit. Selling Varane, no issue if replaced with Tomori, says Kyle Owen. Well, I do want to talk about that. And good evening to everyone. Hopefully you're up to speed with what's going on with the show tonight. We had a little bit of a technical error at the start, but I think we're all right now. Lots to get into. Just giving the update on this Sir Jim Radcliffe delay. My message to you is don't panic. We will get an announcement in the next few days that it's happening. Whether you want that to happen or not, that might panic you. Are you willing to bet on this, Mark, says Chris? Well, I don't bet on things like this, but we'll see if I'm right. I believe there will be an official announcement that Sir Jim Radcliffe is taking 25% in the next few days, and I think that then he will officially be in the role in the new year. Yeah, I think that's what will happen. Let's talk about Varane. Should Manchester United keep Raphael Varane? This is the crux of the show at the start of the show before we moved on to a few other areas like the captaincy and Luke Shaw and what's happening with this Neves player who could now be going to bloody Man City, which I think is just an indicator of where we are and how far behind we are. But effectively, I'm in a position where let me just send this. Let me just say that I think with regards to the Varane situation, it's a mistake. It's a massive mistake to let him go. Now, what I was told this morning around Raphael Varane is definitely keep an eye on the January transfer window. Definitely keep an eye on Bayern Munich. Man United could well move him on in January. There is professionalism there from Varane and Erik Ten Hag, but it may well be that relationship is disintegrated now. The lack of trust there. So that's what I was told this morning. Now, look, these things are not breaking news and they're not leaks. They're just basic, presumptions. I take a lot of the news I get, I take it as presumption, really, I do. And I will do a poll, yes, I will do a poll, Blake. But I'm in the flow here. I do take it as presumption. I think you can read a situation as well. Maybe there is something that's come out from somebody about this, but I don't think Raphael Varane's the sort of guy that would do it, and I certainly don't think Erik Ten Hag is. I think this is presumptuous, but what we're hearing is that there is a genuine possibility that Varane will be leaving Man United in one of the next two transfer windows, and potentially January. And there is interest in Raphael Varane. I think this is a massive mistake by Ten Hag. If he wants to do it in the summer, fine, but I'm sort of looking at it and I'm going, this is sort of what Solskjaer did at the end. Remember what Solskjaer did at the end? He started picking players he could trust. He tried back fives and it backfired. And this will backfire as well. Ten Hag's got away with it with Luton. He's got away with it with Burnley. He's got away with it with Sheffield United. And he got away with it Fulham. But the team he's picking has to evolve. He's got to change the personnel in that team. That team he's picking, and I'm not individualising it, will not get as many wins as Ten Hag thinks. He has to evolve back to a team that's got the likes of Casemiro, Martinez, Luke Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, Raphael Varane in it. He's got to rebuild that defence from last season if he wants to get top four this season. Now, if he wants to break it up for next season, that's fine. But this season, we're already playing catch-up. If I was Erik Ten Hag, I would be obsessed with getting that back five back together as soon as possible. It's like Take That back together again. They've got to get that famous five back together and working. And I think if he doesn't do that and he relies on other players, it will massively impact on our chances to get top four. Moving Varane out in January, I think, is a massive mistake. All right, you remove the wages, but what do you do as a replacement? You bring Todibo in. I think Todibo's a good signing, but he might not want to come in January, and also he's then got to adapt. Raphael Varane, for me, is still our best centre-back. He still is. He proved it last year. I think he's still our best centre-back. And if we want to get top four, you've got to get him back into that team. I don't know what the fallout is about. I don't know what the clash is about. I don't know. But he's a professional, and Erik Ten Hag's a professional, and he cannot just keep falling out with players and moving them on. And it's the wrong player to do it with Raphael Varane. And I'm not saying they have fallen out. I'm just saying if he goes in January, that to me reads that there's been a falling out. Because removing your best centre-back halfway through the season when you're leaking goals, I think it's a mistake. So January's buggered apparently now. So is our season basically, says Ray. and Googled it, and Polar Bear wins against 20 boxers in a fight to the death for anyone who's curious, says Ruth. Thank you. Well, I'm going to just start this poll because I've got a lot to get into tonight. But would you let Varane go in January is going to be your first poll of the night. Would you let Varane go in January? Well, the question is, where would he go? Look, Saudi Arabia will take him like that. I don't think he necessarily wants to go there. Bayern Munich would be interested. There's a couple of other clubs in Europe who are interested as well. But I just think it's a massive mistake. I've said my piece. I think it's a massive mistake to let him go. I think some people will look at it and go, well, we've got to do it at some point. I agree. Rafael Varane will not be our centre-back in 2 years, let alone 3 years. I agree. You could say the same of Casemiro. I agree there is a transition. But I was right about David De Gea, and I believe I'm right about Varane. Some people want the shiny new toy already. And actually, I'm saying, let's wait a little bit. With David De Gea, we should have waited a year. 100% we should have waited a year. That's already been proven. With Varane, we should wait until the summer. Doing it mid-season could be the reason we don't get top four, and that's my fear. And I also fear that Ten Hag is sort of reminding me, and I back Ten Hag. I probably didn't back Ollie at this point, but he's playing survival football. You know, he's using certain players who will play for the shirt and play for Ten Hag, but ultimately, when we play better teams, I think they'll get beat and their heads will still drop. We don't, you know, we say these players play for their shirt. Did they play for the shirt over the last 3 or 4 years when we've been battered? We know we've got a weak underbelly. I think you've got to get as much quality on the pitch. I think you've got to solve these issues. And if you want to get top four, my mentality would be, I want Onana in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Martinez, Shaw, Casemiro as many times as I can between Christmas and May, and that will maximise my opportunities of getting top four. If he wants to break that back five up this season, I think he runs the risk of top four. Because if we can get back 17 clean sheets last season in the Premier League, that's nearly half our games we got clean sheets in. It sounds like a distant memory. It sounds like a dream. But if we can get that back five back together again, with an Onana in goal, obviously no De Gea, then, and start getting clean sheets, doesn't matter whether we're playing well or not. You only need one Bruno assist and a finish from Rashford or Højlund or someone, and you've won the game 1-0. I think it's a mistake. It's my opinion. Your opinion could be very different. I'm more than happy to read them. Emil says it's reckless. He shouldn't be doing things like this in the season. Shaw and Wan-Bissaka is back. Wait for Martinez and Varane and we'll do fine, says Savage. If Ten Hag keeps Varane but leaves him on the bench, it's the Ronaldo saga all over again. Varane is way too good to sit on the bench, as was Ronaldo. Well, yeah, Larry, I agree with that. If he's going to bench him, he may as well let him go. I'm saying get him in the team. He's a model professional. He's a top-class centre-back, and we're a better team with Varane in it. We're a better team with Luke Shaw in it. We're a better team with Casemiro in it. We're a better team with Wan-Bissaka in it. We're a better team with Martinez in it. And none of those players have really been available since between August and now. Not really. I think he's got to get it. Nick says Varane's too injury prone, but that's not a problem to solve in January. And also he wasn't that injury prone last season. For 71% of you are saying no, don't do it in January. And Varane is, of course, he's playing survival football. 14 injuries. What else do you expect? You cannot do a rebuild and win games and trophies. Get real, says Delta. I think you contradicted yourself there. We sort of did that last season. Felix, thank you very much for your things. And Biinda is substituted on for Turkey against Wales after an injury to their goalkeeper, says John Stewart. And Mark, did you read the Mirror article about the stadium? No, Raz. Happy to see the most people here want to keep him past January. We can sell him in the summer. Currently on a plane. Thanks for helping me pass the time, says Kyle. It's amazing what technology can do, isn't it? And can't Rashford and Bruno go with him, says Kieran. And no, a quick fix we can throw cash at. We need to look at the youth setup, says Marma. And we need to buy 4 in January and 4 in the summer. Those will be 8 new players. You're having a laugh. We're not going to buy 4 players in January. And Azad says the 30% of the clowns voting for him to go is the best centre-back we have. Absolutely clueless. No, I don't think they're clowns. It's just a different opinion. We do need another centre-back, but I wouldn't do it in January. Look, by the time we get to January, Ten Hag might not even be in a job. I think he will be, but we've got a horrific run of fixtures coming up. I'd be using Varane in those, let alone waiting till January. But yeah, look, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be very, very difficult. Anyone who says Varane is rubbish is an numpty, says Barry. But look, I'm not going to go. We don't do those sort of conversations. It's not worth doing those sort of conversations. we can talk about evolution. We can talk about future planning for the team, and I would agree that we're gonna need to bring 2 centre backs in. Harry Maguire's older than Varane. You know, if we're writing Varane off as needing to be replaced, Harry Maguire's not going to hit 31 and suddenly find some nitro boost, is he? I mean, he's not going to get any quicker. Maguire's done reasonably well for us the last few weeks, but he's slow. I mean, I don't know whether you watched England last night. That horrific pass out from the back, and then he got it should have been a penalty. So, look, that's Maguire playing for England, who he never lets down. So, Maguire's got his weaknesses, and he's going to get older as well. So, I think Varane and Maguire both need replacing. Whatever you think about them individually, they both need replacing in the short to long term. Mark, hear me out. Varane plus 40 million for Kim Min-jae, problem solved, says Son. I mean, I'd do it. I don't think they would do it. And do you think United have got what it takes to develop raw talents? Because we buy players and want them to hit the ground running. How do we develop raw lads, says Abdul. Yeah, well, I think it's about buying the right players, isn't it? I think when you look at Mainu coming through the system, you're developing raw talent there. Garnacho's the same as well. But I think you need to buy players like this Neves guy from Benfica, who is obviously very well rated, but he's still a raw talent that's never played in the Premier League and he's very young. Those are the sort of players that I think, yes, we can have success with. We just don't do it very often. But I'd certainly be looking at those sort of players. Gems has just gifted 5 memberships, by the way. Big shout out to Gems in the chat. Absolute legend. Love that. And Vincent says Varane can be a mentor for the defenders to come in and be professional, says Vincent. Look, there's 2 sides to this story. Maybe Varane's not happy with what's going on at United, but I agree. I think we need to solve this situation in the short term. Hi Mark, will the Christmas show be recorded for members around the world to watch by any chance? Keep Varane until the end of the season, says Daniel. We're hoping to get it recorded, yes. Actually, just by the way, just to remind you all, Christmas show, December the 11th. It's going to be a cracker. I've been speaking to our producer and Beth and a couple of other people today, actually, about what we've got lined up for the show. It's going to be so. If you came to any of the shows in Dublin or London or the last one in Manchester, very different. This is a Christmas show, which we want to do every year. We want to take it to different places, but it's going to be a very Christmas show. We're going to have Santa. We're going to give out presents. We've got Christmas quizzes. It's going to be interactive. There's different sections going on. I might even sing some songs. So it's going to be a cracking night. If you want to get your tickets, you can scan the QR code next to me or go through the live chat link or the link in the video description. Fantastic night. It's on the Monday before Man United play Bayern Munich. So if you go into that game and you fancy coming to this the night early, or just come up for this, absolutely fantastic night. Scan the QR code. We can't wait to see you at the show, and there will be photo opportunities and everything because it's a Christmas show, so we want to be part of it, have a drink, etc. Looking forward to it. Will there be eggnog? I don't know. I'm not working behind the bar. Would Varane be cup tied in the Champions League, says All Star? I mean, it's not my concern. I don't really know. Casemiro / Varane to Saudi? I doubt. Professional pride will keep them until the summer at least. Fallout or not, want to prove a point, says Ray. Exactly. And Mojo's gifted a membership as well. But look, I wasn't going to go here next, but I will go here next. So, you know, Neves of Benfica that Bruno Fernandes was talking about and saying, you know, it's not up to me what happens, but I think he's a talented player and I'd love him to come to Manchester United, basically. Well, Bernardo Silva has said the same thing. So, and this is the problem I think Manchester United do face. We want to say that we basically want to say that we're on the comeback. We're about to get Sir Jim Radcliffe to buy 25%. There might be some money swishing around. We're on our way back. I don't think we are. Not to that extent. I don't think we can suddenly spend £100 million on Neves from Benfica because he's the next big thing. I think he wears a Man City shirt and goes to Man City. I think he's got Man City written all over him. I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago, one of these stats people who, you know, obsess about, every player in Europe, and they were saying he's got Man City running through him. Like, he's a Man City player. He's a Pep Guardiola player. And you'd love him. He's not a Man City player yet, so you'd love him to be a Man United player, but I just don't think we do that deal. It's got City written all over it because City at the moment are so good that every summer they just spend £100 million on someone, don't they? And I think this summer could be the summer they do it for Neves. And I wouldn't be getting all obsessed about Neves as a Man United fan because he'll be wearing light blue next season. It's just not the sort of deal that we do. And it was interesting that Bernardo Silva said that. And as Marvin says, Calvin Phillips' replacement. Calvin Phillips is going to go. They're going to bring somebody in. They do have to be very careful of their homegrown quota. But then again, they have got players coming through, haven't they? But look, I don't think we do that. I don't think we do that. A few people are just drawing my attention to a bit of a breaking story coming in from Jamie Jackson. So basically, Jamie Jackson is... he's been on the channel, hasn't he? It's Jamie Jackson, of course. He is a journalist, correspondent for The Guardian, The Observer. This is what he's put out in the last 20 minutes or so. A section of Man United players believe the team's poor start is down to Erik Ten Hag overworking the squad in pre-season. They've complained of beginning the campaign feeling as tired as when they finished the previous one. Those discontented include several senior squad players. It's understood none have explicitly aired their concerns to the manager, who believes his players are fully committed and comprehend the need for sacrifice if Man United are to be consistently successful. I mean, interesting. Definitely interesting. What are your thoughts? My thoughts are they haven't taken it to the manager, but it's come out in the press. So automatically I'm thinking the shower's on or it's leaking. Because if you've not been to the manager, but it's coming out in the press, if you're Erik Ten Hag reading that or being made aware of that tomorrow morning or tonight, you're sort of going, I don't need this shit. Like, this is the stuff that comes to my office. It doesn't go out to the media and the fans. And I agree with Ten Hag there. I do also agree with the players, which I'll talk about in a minute, but we shouldn't be getting that information before Ten Hag. And that's what it says there. Senior players felt that they were overworked in pre-season and they came into the season as tired as they finished last season. Okay, I mean, we can talk about that. We can acknowledge that. I sort of agree with that. But why have they not taken it to the manager? And also, it's very interesting what it says around those discontented include several senior players. It's understood none have explicitly said this to the manager, who believes his players are fully committed and comprehend the need for sacrifice if Man United to be consistently successful. So, I mean, that to me reads like Ten Hag doesn't have any concern with the players. The players haven't got any concern with Ten Hag. They just feel tired. With any luck, there will be no City, Chelsea and now Spurs to worry about in the Premier League, says Anthony. Mojo's gifted 5 memberships. You're a legend, Mojo. And Lee Berman's just gifted 1 as well. Thank you very much, Lee. Legends of the chat there. Your opinion, how many players have we got that actually could sell United to potential new signings based on individual performances, says Ray. Not that many. Not that many, really. Not that many. But look, honestly, let me just deal with the story, and then let's deal with the consequences. Do I think United players came into this season as tired as they finished last season? Yeah. I watched that Wolves game. I couldn't believe for an opening game of the season at Old Trafford, we looked absolutely dead on our feet. Wolves should have won that game 5-0. How we won that 1-0, you've got to say, was the definition of winning when you play badly. They were absolutely dominant, and I couldn't get my hat on. I couldn't understand it. Opening game of the season at Old Trafford, packed after a good season last year, and Wolves come along and play us off the park. What's going on? Where's the energy? Where's the focus? So look, I definitely do think we looked knackered at the start of the season. I definitely do. Look at the injuries. Look at the form of Bruno, Rashford, Martinez before his injury, Luke Shaw before his injury, Wan-Bissaka before his injury. Loads of our Casemiro before his injury. Varane has looked like it all season as well. A lot of our big performers last year started the season crap and then got injured, some of them. So look, I absolutely agree. I don't think anybody's talking out of turn to say that we came into this season lethargic and way off the pace. I mean, you'd have to go and get a pair of these if you didn't think we did. We all spoke about it in the first few games of the season. Why? Where's the energy? Where's it all gone? We came into this season like that. However, do I think that that's because Ten Hag worked them hard in pre-season? I mean, they went to bloody America. I mean, most of their time in pre-season, they're flying around. I mean, if they'd stayed at bloody Carrington, they'd have got a lot more rest. So I don't think the pre-season schedule helped massively. I think we played too many games. And I don't think we did enough work on the training ground. I don't think we got the transfers done quick enough either. I think the summer for Man United was chaotic. Pre-season, too much. Didn't get the transfers done quick enough. Didn't sell the players we needed to sell. So I don't think it was the best preparation. And I also think that for those players who are moaning about it being Ten Hags, Mojo's just gifted 10 memberships, by the way. Mojo's on a worldie tonight. Thank you very much. And Alex says, how many of these tied players are still going on international duty? Well, Alex, this is a great point as well. Mojo, legend, and Gems and everyone else. But to those players that feel tired, are you telling me that if we'd gone to America and given you a couple of days off in America, you'd have hit the ground running in the new season? Bollocks. Call it for what it is. This is not on Ten Hag exclusively. And I feel that this is a story that's now going to get peddled, that Ten Hag overtrained the players and they had no energy. You know why the players have got no energy, and you know why we're getting injured. It's not because we played an extra game in America. It's because we've played the cup final at the start of June. Our season last year started at the start of August. There was a World Cup, and then we played 3 games a week from Boxing Day to June. It was relentless. And then those players went on international duty. And then 2 weeks later, they went to America with Manchester United. They had no recuperation. You can't say, oh, we don't have any energy because of the hard pre-season. You don't have any fucking energy because you've just played one of the hardest seasons in living memory, and you had next to no recuperation. A day off in America, not training, would not have made you feel any better. Your body's as fucked, basically. The reason they're all getting injured is because their bodies are fucked from last season. What they actually needed was a month off. A month off. Complete and utter recuperation. You can't have that in the modern game because it's money, 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 money. I mean, and that's the bottom line. So I agree with player concerns, and Varane said it in August that these minutes being added on are ridiculous. There's too many games. He knows his body as well as anybody else. I agree with it. 100%. I agree with the senior players if they've said it, that they're tired and they're struggling. And look, I almost agree with them if they've said the pre-season was too hard and it knackered them out, because I think it was. I think the pre-season was too hard, but I think the pre-season would have been too hard at Man City. I think it would have been too hard at Liverpool, because pre-season is hard. A lot of teams in pre-season are doing boxing training the lot because it's about fitness. It is really hard, pre-season training. It's meant to be fucking hard. But when you've got a team that's played as many games as it did last season and having no break, and then having to go into pre-season where it's hard and into a new season, I completely agree. I completely agree why they're knackered, but I don't think it's Ten Hag's fault. I think it's how many games they played last season's fault. And I said this a couple of weeks ago. This is why, when you look at the United team now, you've got Maguire playing well, you've got McTominay playing well, you've got Højlund in the team, Anana in the team, Reguilon in the team, Delo in the team, Lindelof in the team. There's a few others as well, and they basically all played less than 30 games last year. They played less than half the games. The players that are playing for us now and doing a job didn't hardly play last year, because and their body's in a better shape. The ones that did the job last year, the vast majority of them are either injured or not playing well. And that's not, I don't think that's anything to do with pre-season. I think that's everything to do with the fact that we had an awfully tiring season last year. Dawal says, even if the training is too much, why are we not seeing any good consistent periods of play until lethargy kicks in during the game, says Dawal. And yeah, I don't like the leak aspect of it because it shouldn't be pinned on the manager. How ironic would it be if we ever got sponsored by Red Bull or Duracell? At the moment should be more like the local morgue, says Ray. And I mean, it makes sense that Varane would be one of the people annoyed by being made to play and work so hard during pre-season after him speaking up about too many games is affecting him and others, says Levi. Well, mate, we can all guess who the senior players are, if there are any senior players that aren't happy. It could be Varane. It could be Casemiro. It could be Marcus Rashford. It could be Bruno Fernandes. It could be Martinez. I mean, they'd be right. They should just speak to the manager about it. If I was a Man United player who played last year and I'm not playing well or I'm injured, I'd knock on the door and say, Gaffer, the reason this is happening is because we're all knackered. Like, last season was a great season, but we're knackered. We got next to no break. We're straight into a hard pre-season, which I understand you've got to do, but that's why we're knackered. We're running on empty. It's impossible to do what they demand of us. I mean, look at Newcastle, injury crisis. Brighton, injury crisis. Spurs, injury crisis. It's going on all over the league. I'd sell Varane for the right price and bring in a younger, talented midfielder defender who Ten Hag could coach into playing the sort of football he prefers. Thanks, Sally. Anyway, that was a bit of breaking news that we were just talking about there. Sticking with that, I did want to just talk momentarily about the Bruno Fernandes situation. And we'll close this poll now because basically 70% of you would say keep Varane in January. Don't get rid of him in January. Maybe we look at it in the summer, which I think we'd all agree with. So what I was going to say is that I don't know whether you saw it today. I think it was Andy Cole saying something along the lines of Bruno as a captain is very disrespectful to his well, not very. I don't think the word "very" was used. It's disrespectful to his teammates when he's throwing his hands in the air. But maybe that's just the way the game has moved on. I don't know what it is, but well, I do know what it is. We just got to be very, very careful because Maguire's back in the team, and Bruno's the captain. And even when Maguire wasn't in the team, people were moaning about Bruno being the captain. We can call it because he's foreign. We can call it what we like, but we already have the evidence for the last few months that Bruno's been the captain, that certain people in the media get on his back for it. They clearly don't like that Bruno Fernandes is the captain of Man United. And I do think that now Maguire's back in the team, it might increase a bit because they sort of would love an English captain in Harry Maguire. This would be a big mistake. Like, Maguire's actually playing better without the captaincy because he can focus on his own game. He's not good enough to be captain of Man United, lead the team and focus on his own game. It's a very difficult thing to do. So, Maguire should not be getting the captain's arm back anyway. And also, Erik Ten Hag won't give the captaincy to anyone else. He wants Bruno to be the captain. So I think all this noise around Bruno Fernandes just needs to stop. I don't know why it keeps being brought up as a topic. It's such a low level problem for Manchester United. I think there are better captains than Bruno Fernandes out there, but not within our squad. And we've got far bigger issues to concern ourselves about. So I don't know why this keeps getting brought up. As for him throwing his hands around, being disrespectful, well, what was Roy Keane then when he used to shout at Phil or Gary or David or any other, or Peter Schmeichel and get into an argument with them? What was that? How can the way people captain have changed when Roy Keane was basically the boss on the pitch who shouted at his own players? So, look, just leave the guy alone. The captaincy of Man United really isn't our major focus at the moment. We've got 1,000,001 problems that are not the captain of Man United, and I don't know why we keep talking about it. So my plea is really, stop bloody talking about it. We're not changing the captain. Last season, the captain of Man United didn't even get picked and still stayed captain until the summer. Bruno's on every bloody team sheet. Leave him alone. It's not the biggest problem. Stop trying to make out that Bruno throwing his hands in the air is somehow the worst thing that's ever happened to a Manchester United captain. I've seen plenty of Man United captains, and I've seen exactly what they do. They shout, they scream, they get angry. So, look, let's grow up and move on. I think it's a pointless topic of conversation that just seems to keep coming up. Nicholas Hardy, welcome to the Members Club. Also, I don't necessarily agree with players complaining about fatigue because they are all really well for their national teams. Mojo, I don't agree with players moaning about fatigue, full stop. It's a weakness. It's weak. It shouldn't be hitting the press. Not at all. But Man United, and if Sir Jim Radcliffe's coming in to sort the footballing side out, I'd be looking at these sort of stories. Too much leaks out from Man United, and it's weak. I agree with them being tired, but it shouldn't be hitting the public. It shouldn't be coming out there because you know what? If I'm a rival player, if I'm Everton and I'm reading that United players are tired, that's giving me another boost. I'm like, psychologically, they're tired. I know they're tired, so I know if I give a little bit more, we're going to do better than them. We shouldn't be putting this out there. It's weak mentality again. It's excuse mentality. You know, like if you're playing five-a-side with your mates, and on a Tuesday you're playing Wednesday night, and on a Tuesday you twist your ankle, but you want to play five-a-side. Do you tell the opposition that you've twisted your ankle so they can kick you, or they know that you're not going to be as sharp? No, you don't let the enemy know your weaknesses. And all we're doing is that for an excuse. Give captaincy to McTominay until the end of the season, says Stephen. We're not going to give it to people who are playing well. The mainstream media need to leave Bruno alone, says Alex. Thank you very much for that. And 3am, who's one of our members, says United players are the only ones ever crying, says 3am. Look, if we want to win and we want to improve as a team, We need to keep our gob shuts and stop moaning about stuff that's going on or that people are saying about you, and close the door. Manchester United under Sir Alex Ferguson, we used to love being hated. We used to love people getting on our back because it was inspirational. It was inspirational. And we just seem to have this victim mentality. I'm not playing well because I'm tired. I'm not playing well because I'm being criticised. I'm not playing well because, he's not playing. I'm not playing well because I'm being played out of position. This is not the mentality of winners. It's not the mentality of winners at all. Winners win because they have a strong mentality and they don't make excuses. Harvard says, John Murtagh, Man United's football director, has no plan to follow Arnold and depart. Well, we spoke about that this morning. So, that's the latest at the moment, obviously. Warren G, who's a member, says, let's make Anthony captain. Another great show, says Just Kevin. We're always protecting the losers and the crap players, says Marvin AM. Look, I don't care who comes into that football club now. It's going to be Sir Jim. Obviously, I wanted the Glazers to go. I wanted a full sale. I wanted the money to come into the club. I wanted the debt to be cleared. But the reality is, whoever comes into that football club now, there are some easy wins. CEO's gone, easy win. The scouting and recruitment director of football, easy win to change that. Another easy win, change this mentality. There is a perception. There is a perception, whether you like it or not, and Man United need to hear this. There is a perception amongst the fan base, amongst other clubs' fans, in the media. There is a general perception that Manchester United is run by player power. And that is something that's probably been going since the point Mourinho gets sacked, and it's not changed since. Since Mourinho got sacked until today, because we saw it with Rangnick, we saw it with Ollie, and we might be seeing it again with Ten Hag, there is a perception that Man United is run by the players. Now, if I was at Man United and I was the CEO, or I was the owner, or I was the director of football, the manager, whatever, I would hate that. It's embarrassing. But that's the perception. Let's be honest. Do you get the feeling that United is still run by the players? Because I do. I still get it. When I read stories like that from Jamie Jackson and other stories, I'm not saying that they're going into work and saying, Richard Arnold, get out the office, we're having it today. I'm not saying that. But player power. Like, there's so much that hits the media that I don't think comes from the club. There's so much, blame shifting onto certain people when things go wrong that really, as somebody said weeks ago, if Ten Hag gets sacked, there's certain players in that squad and dressing room who will have sacked 4, 3 or 2 managers. There's only Højlund and Mount and Eriksson and Anthony and Martinez and a couple of others who this will be their first Man United manager being sacked. Some of these managers have sacked multiple. Some of these players have been there for multiple sackings, and everybody knows that squad needs breaking up. There's some people that deserve to stay, and there's some people need to go, but it's never been done by anybody. And again, that's another feather in the cap of player power, because we had situations last summer, the summer before that, and the summer before that, and the summer before that, where managers wanted to sell players. They stayed, and actually stayed past that manager being sacked. We know what happened with Mourinho. So this is an issue that Sir David Brailsford or Sir Jim Radcliffe or Blanc as the new CEO have to look at and take notice at. They need to know this, and it's something they need to solve. Man United fans are desperate for it, and the rest of football thinks it. Man United need to control the player power. They do. They need to stop all the leaks. They need to get the respect back, and they need to stop listening to certain players who are, powerful within that dressing room or whatever, and get the authority back into Manchester United. It's a privilege to play for Manchester United. We shouldn't have players that can moan about things and the club will say sorry for. And we have seen that over the last 5 or 6 years. And it started in the Mourinho era, and it's still there now. And you can't necessarily blame the players when it's learnt behaviour. They'll have seen certain players that aren't at the club anymore be treated like, they're in charge, and then they've learnt that behaviour and carried it on. There is a perception in football that Man United is run by the players, and it's certainly in the fan base. And we don't want that. We want that to change. So again, it's another easy win for Sir Jim and whoever's coming in to change that. And you might have to crack a few eggs to do it, but it needs to be done, because we will never amount to anything as a football club if we're run by the players. And I think that we are. And look, I mean, this is something in football that's not... It's logical. There are a lot of players in Man United's playing squad who will earn 10, 20 times more than the CEO. Swap deal Varane for Kim Min-jae, please, says Grace. Never going to happen. Never going to happen. If your company gets taken over, you have to sign a new contract to keep your job. United should do the same to reduce weekly wage to be top up by bonus, says Michael. When the players earn double more than the manager, what do you expect, says Marvin, which is sort of what we're saying there. Inter says, you love yourself. You can't even beat Burnley. I seem to remember that we went to Burnley a few weeks ago, played absolutely shit and beat Burnley. So you might want to get your facts right before you start gobbing off. Jonathan says, they have the players that power it will never change. History means nothing in the present. Need to stop using history and excuse modern football history. It doesn't matter anymore, says Jonathan. So you're saying we can't solve it? Well, I think we can. It's not the Manchester United Sir Jim Radcliffe needs to put back into Manchester United. It's the United bit, as the club isn't united at all, says Lee. Hear thee, hear thee. I agree with Lee. I agree with Lee. Anyway, look, on a positive note, Luke Shaw is going to be coming back soon, and I've got another poll for you. Where should Shaw play when he comes back? Because we've got two very distinct options when he does come back. We can put him at left back, of course, or we can put him at left centre back. And I think that there's an intriguing case for both. Left back, he's the best fullback we've got. He's got amazing stamina. He's got a good cross on him, and I think he's one of the best left backs in the world. However, we are completely and utterly imbalanced at centre-back on the left-hand side. If you put Maguire there, Varane there, Lindelof there, they're all right-footed. And we saw last season that Luke Shaw as a left centre-back can do it almost as good as Martinez. And then you could put Reguilon at left-back. So there is an interesting point there. And also, from an injury point of view, left-back is a lot more demanding physically than left centre-back. You're doing a lot more running. So maybe we bring him into left centre-back for the next month until Martinez comes back, and then move him to left-back. I don't know. I don't know on this one. 60% of you are saying put him at left-back. 40% are saying put him at left centre-back. My initial reaction would be to go with the majority. I thought, when I was asked this earlier on, I thought I'll bring this into the chat, because I'm like, get him in at left-back. He's way better than Reguilon, and that, get him in at left-back. But then I was like, yeah, we concede a lot of goals, though. I mean, Luke Shaw, correct me if I'm wrong, he played left centre-back with Varane in the new camp, and was absolutely brilliant. I mean, I really remember last January when Martinez was missing out because I think he came back from the World Cup, didn't he have an injury or something like that? We played Varane and Luke Shaw a lot, and they were absolutely fantastic. In fact, Luke Shaw and Varane are probably our best centre-back pairing, apart from Martinez and Varane last season. So you could do it. Yeah, you could do it. I can see a case for both. I mean, for me, I don't really care as long as Luke Shaw's back. Basically, what has to happen is those at the top have to go, we are in charge. And if you have a problem with that, get out my club, says Jack. Yeah, but financially, we would never do that before. Sean Turner says, to play devil's advocate on this pre-season story, we played so many games last year, going deep into all competitions. Should it have been a bit lighter? 14 injuries already this season isn't just a coincidence, says Sean. What, pre-season should have been a bit lighter? Well, yeah, you're right, Sean. You're right, Sean, but you have to understand pre-season. Eric Ten Hag cannot be criticised because pre-season was difficult. This is where you need to understand the deeper meaning of football, because every football club in the Premier League pre-season go at it hard. You speak to Sir Alex Ferguson, Pep Guardiola, it doesn't matter. In pre-season, you put the hard fitness work in to get your fitness pinging to get you through the season. Because once the season starts, there's no time for fitness work or endurance work. You're playing games, you're recuperating, you're playing games. For as long as you can remember. I mean, look, some football clubs in the olden days didn't used to use a ball for 3 weeks. It was just running up and down the beach. So, yes, there is definitely a case to say that the players will have struggled with pre-season after a long season. But what's Ten Hag supposed to do? Give them 3 weeks off and say, just turn up for the Wolves game? You have to do it. But the cause was last season. You can't just change the way pre-season works and say, let's have a light pre-season. The pre-season has been, the pre-seasons have been the way pre-seasons have been for decades. You've got to put the hard yards in there. The problem is we had a tired squad before we started doing it. Shaw has got 30 assists in 294 games when Rashford can't provide assists down the left. We need a left back who can. I think we need to upgrade, says Rory C. Bring any player back, past or present, not thinking leadership. Who would it be? Just get the team moving for me. I think Carrick, says Ray. Vidic, Keane, Carrick, Scholes, anybody from that spine, really. Anybody, really. At the moment, our best defence is Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Shaw, Reguilon and Casemiro, and that is where we need to play as much as possible, says Jack. Well, remember, Casemiro's injured, mate, just as long as Martinez is. Hi, Mark. We can talk and talk and talk. At the end of the day, Erik Ten Hag is a stubborn person, does what he thinks is right, even if it's not. I'm fed up, says Sheriff. Well, look. We are getting very, very close to the return of football, and I will just remind you. I would just remind you what I said before this international break, and I will say it right now as well. If you are Erik Ten Hag out, I don't understand it, because what you're going to do? I know people that would sack Ten Hag tomorrow. And I'm like, what would you do? You're just throwing your toys out the pram. I get it, but why would you do that now? Wait till the summer. But what I will say is, we've got four ridiculously difficult fixtures coming up. Like, I can't predict these. I can predict them individually, but after the first one, that will tell you what's going to happen in the second one, potentially. 4 ridiculously difficult fixtures. Everton away, they're going to be so pumped after that points deduction, and the feeling of injustice is never something you want to play against. Galatasaray, again, is going to be absolutely ridiculous atmosphere there. Newcastle away, all right, they've got injuries, but it's still ridiculously difficult atmosphere. That's 3 huge aways, and we know that United struggle away from home. Like, we could lose all 3, and imagine where we'd be then. It will be torture what will be being said about Ten Hag and this team. There'll be more people coming out about being tired or turning on the manager and all sorts of stuff. So look, I know we thought this international break was going to be about what the future of Man United's going to be, but there was always this dark cloud looming of really, and then Chelsea at home, who've got a way better midfield than us. If we put McTominay, Eriksen and Bruno against Gallagher, Enzo and Casido, we'll get we won't have the ball at Old Trafford, so it's going to be difficult. I just think get ready, as Dylan says, get ready, because it's going to be a hell. And then we've got West Ham and Liverpool away before Christmas as well. It's a horrific set of fixtures, and we know we were playing survival football before the break. I mean, that team scraped a home win against Luton, scraped an away win against Fulham, scraped a win against Sheffield United. Like, it's going to be unbelievable. I mean, I say bring it on. It's a battle. Let's go for it. I'm with Ten Hag. I'm with the team. Let's go for it. But it's going to be very, very, very interesting. Watch NFL Hard Knocks on Max. That shows how important pre-season training camp is. You implement tactics you don't have time to do in the season. Can't blame Ten Hag. Yeah. I mean, this is Pappy, I agree. This is where the deeper meaning of football really matters, because there'll be people who read that and go, it's Ten Hag's fault that the players are playing badly because they're tired. It's almost criminal to think that. It really is. Like, just think about what happened last season. He didn't get any signings in January that he needed to get. He got loanees who weren't good enough. He also had injury problems last season. There was, Martinez had injuries, Varane had injuries, Eriksen had injuries, Casemiro had suspensions. We somehow finished 3rd and won 2 trophies. Next to no summer at all, you're back having to prepare a tired squad for pre-season and another season. I think this was, I think it was easily predictable that we were going to have an injury crisis and we were going to have players out of form. And it's got nothing to do with pre-season training. It's got everything to do with everything around it. You could also say it's got a lot to do with the Glazers and Richard Arnold fucking up another summer transfer window as well. Hoyland came in late and injured. Amrabat came in at the end of the window. We didn't get Kim Min-jae. So, look, we didn't get the centre-back we needed. They couldn't sell the players they were meant to sell. 2 of the players we brought in came in very late and weren't even able to play at the start of the season. Onana and Mount were the 2 that were ready. Well, Onana's on Ten Hag. I think we should have waited a year for that. Mount is on Ten Hag. I don't really understand what that was about, but there was a whole load more that was needed that wasn't delivered. It seems to me, I seem to remember we started the first game season saying we're not prepared because the team we expected to start hardly played in pre-season, says Glanny Boy. Well, maybe he didn't play the team in pre-season to try and give it some, it's not pre-season is what I'm trying to say. Pre-season is not the reason that the players are tired. It's last season. And I will repeat, this sort of thing should not be leaking out because it makes us look really weak. You're exposing a weakness to your... We're about to play 3 away games in 6 days and we're talking about the players being tired. It's not a good look. And if they believe it, that's not a good look. Imagine going to run a marathon and before you do it, you sound really tired. Psychologically, that's going to mess around with you. This mentality thing that Ten Hag mentioned after Liverpool last season... We've got Liverpool in a few weeks. I worry about that because Liverpool will be licking their lips. And that game against Liverpool, I'm telling you now, I said it a few weeks ago, that game against Liverpool could be more significant than you think. Because if we get another hiding at Anfield... Yeah, and I agree with Just Kevin. We need to get rid of this victim mentality. Where should Luke Shaw play? 61% of you said left back and 39% of you said left centre back. I can see a case for both. I really can. I can see a case for both on that. I think that I just have another poll as well. Actually, would you rather if you? Yeah, okay, let me say this. Would you rather beat Everton or Galatasaray? I'm not saying we lose to either of them, but what I'm saying is if we beat Everton, it's 3 points. If we beat Galatasaray, we've got a great chance of going through the group. If we draw with Galatasaray, I think we're out. So would you rather beat Everton or Galatasaray? Because obviously, is it important to go through in the group stage or is it more important to get Premier League points? We're probably not going to win the Champions League, so, but you avoid the Europa League. Everton's 3 points on the board, isn't it? What would you, if you're only going to win one, maybe you draw or lose the other game. What would you rather do? It's more for me that I just want to, because I know what I think, and I just wanted to know what you think. It's a bit of a niche. It's a bit of a niche question, but yeah. Just while you're voting on that, don't forget that our Christmas show on December the 11th. We're looking forward to see you. I think we've got about 80 tickets left now, so can't wait to see you. We're having drinks with you, photos, all the works. The whole crew's going to be there. Ben Foster's there. We've got a quiz on the stage. We've got Santa giving out some presents. In fact, we've got some of these as well. We've got a load of Christmas jumpers that we will be giving out to certain people in the audience. But if you want to get one of these, we do ship them worldwide. This was one of the designs from last year. United Stand Shopify, or it's probably got stuff for you as well. Just fill in a bit of time there while you have your vote. But can't wait for the Christmas show. You can scan the QR code next to me or go through the link in the description or the live chat. Love to see you there. A night in Manchester on December the 11th. There will be we're still looking, actually. I think there are some places open on a Monday night, so we'll find out where that. We'll tell everyone on the night where that's going to be. Post Ferguson, what is your best 11 including this season? I'd exclude Moyes' time, however. Oh mate, can I have a think about that, and I'll tell you tomorrow night, Ray, because so basically you want me to pick Man United's best 11 post Sir Alex. I like it. I just need to. It's going to take me probably 10 minutes. Post Sir Alex best 11. So basically, I'd be including De Gea in goal, obviously, and then you'd be sort of thinking right back. Right back's interesting straight away. Who's been our right back before Wan-Bissaka? Ashley Young. Valencia was probably right back for a little bit, wasn't he? I'm going to have a think about that one. I think it's a good one. I think it is a good one. Roderick, welcome to the Members Club. Right, 58% of you would rather beat Galatasaray. 42% of you would rather beat Everton. I actually think that if you lose to Galatasaray, we're probably going to end up in the Europa League, and I don't want to do that. But I think points on the board are more important, but I don't want to play Thursday night football in February. So I would rather get through the group stage of the Champions League and get knocked out in February playing Tuesday or Wednesday night and not beat Everton than beat Everton, end up in the Europa League and have to play Thursday night football for most of February, March and April. So I would rather beat Galatasaray and get through the group because I think it will help us out at the end of the season. Plus, hopefully, we'll get stronger later on in the season as well, and we might actually be able to have a decent Champions League run if we can get everybody back. Maybe I'm being a little bit wishful thinking, but we shall see. Daniel Winstanley says, I'd rather beat Everton as we are not going to win the Champions League. What's the point in prolonging it? Well, I think I just explained my point, Daniel, is that I don't want to play Thursday night football in February. Let's end that poll there. Okay, look, I've really enjoyed the show tonight. There was a lot to get our teeth into, actually. So thank you everybody for tuning in. I always like the international break 8 o'clock shows because you'll notice next week, instead of having 10,000 people watching, it'll go up to like 15,000 because the people who disappear in the international break come back to talk about the games, which is fine, but doesn't mean I can't appreciate the hardcore fans who like to have these sort of conversations, the deeper meaning conversations, because we can all talk about how shit we were against Luton or whatever like that. But these bigger conversations about the club and the inner workings of it and the problems and why we fail are enjoyable. Thanks everyone for watching. Tickets for the show there. You can get your Christmas jumpers as well if you want. We do ship worldwide. I'll speak to you all tomorrow. We're not expecting Sir Jim Radcliffe to be announced tomorrow, by the way. It could happen, but we're not expecting it. Next week is looking more likely because it's Happy Thanksgiving on Thursday for our American viewers, isn't it? Take care, everyone. Legends, loved the show tonight. Take care. I'll speak to you all soon.